Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about a group of stone cold weirdos in Denver who are looking for love.
Love is Blind season 9 is officially here, baby. The pods are open and the love chains are forming.
I found it very realistic how many chains there were because in real life, is everything a triangle? I don't think so.
Certainly not.
They're like, no, these are just laddering down the board. We had so much to say about the first batch of Love is Blind episodes that we decided to split it into two recaps, like 6 episodes of getting to know this batch of people was not enough to talk about all of the various pathologies and, social conversations and political conversations that needed to be had because there's so much going on. So we split it into two recaps, first 3 episodes, second 3 episodes. When you get to the end of this recap, when you're ready to get into episodes 4 to 6 of Love is Blind, just head to part 2. It's waiting for you.
And of course, reminder, if you missed our earlier chats about the new season of Golden Bachelor, check those out, and we'll have another one coming tomorrow.
So let's dive in to Love is Blind season 9. It's set in Denver, of course. It began casting in 2023 and was filmed in March 2024. So they have been waiting for a while.
Yeah, longer than normal.
Yeah,
Usually
over
it's
a
like a
year.
little under a year. This is more than a year, a solid year and a half.
Yeah, these people could have met new people and had babies with them by now. Like, just for the reunion, keep in mind that that is a possibility.
So the overall vibes of this season, I think that I went in assuming it's going to be super crunchy. They're all going to be talking about hiking all the time.
And like microbreweries, I was like, I have an idea of what Denver culture is like that's based on never having been to Denver and only
Same.
on knowing people like me who are from or moved to Denver.
And the vibes were not what I thought.
Yeah, the vibes are really, really different from what we expected. It's like very, very white, which I guess honestly makes sense. Very feels very conservative in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. The culture that comes through. We're seeing instead of crunchy, some sort of tech bro biohacking wellness app conversation.
Oh yeah, there's some mini baby Silicon Valley vibes. The men are chatting about trading crypto.
Yeah. I did not understand Denver's game. So, here we are.
Yeah, this season is chaos, and honestly even the marketing of the season indicates chaos. The key art has a photo of a gold goblet upright and then another one that's been knocked down, and the tagline is "Love is blind unless you're blindsided." So the marketing team is leaning into the drama with this season.
Yeah, they're like, no one wants to watch a bunch of people find love. Have you seen the news? We're in our chaos era. The cast overall is a little older than we've seen on past US seasons of Love is Blind. Overall, the men seem to range in age from 27 to 41, the women 28 to 39.
These
They
are
were
their current ages
currently.
because Netflix does this confusing thing, which I mean, I get why they do it, but when they publish the list of ages, they use their ages now. And then on screen, it's the age they were when they filmed. And because it's been a year and a half, some people are 2 years older.
I know. I'm like, you should be like cartoon characters. You should always be the same age.
Exactly. So I was like,
That's
which
how I'm
one?
encountering you.
Which one do I include here? So I kind of went for both. For example, one of our featured players, Madison, is 26 during filming. She's the youngest of the women in there. She's currently 28.
Yeah, and the featured cast we're seeing mostly on the younger end of this range. I mean, we do know that younger reality show contestants tend to be more chaotic, and that's for very good reason. They're still learning, they're still growing in wisdom. So it makes sense that they would make up more of the drama. So let's talk a little bit about some of the pre-airing gossip before we get into it. We probably will even miss some of this because we are taping in advance so that we can stay on top of the avalanche of reality TV content this month. But as of this taping, what we have seen is a lot of scuttlebutt, a lot of rumors, a lot of comments on social media about a contestant called Mike Brockway.
Yeah. So basically, right after Netflix posted all of the photos and bios of the full cast, people began flooding the Love is Blind Instagram account with comments about Mike Brockway. He is like a featured player in the pods who talks a lot about his business successes and his in home sauna. And the comments that were left include things like, quote, Mike blocked me because he didn't like that I was calling him out for stealing from another small business in Denver.
Oh,
And, quote, Mike Brockway owes our company thousands. Maybe he could have used that Love is Blind bankroll to pay your partners that keep your business going instead of another vacation in Hawaii. Yet another comment, quote, Mike B is a well-known Colorado scammer and has screwed tons of us in the STR/B&B market. He owes tons of people money. Very poor representation of Colorado. We do not claim Mike.
okay.
So
So, yeah, obviously, massive grain of salt. We didn't report any of this out. We haven't seen any reported out.
yes, none of
Um,
these are verified or
it's just
independently verified
commenters.
rumors.
I will say that is far and away the top person on the season I would have expected to garner
Same.
these kinds of comments.
Oh, yeah. If you were like, guess which one of these people is a rumored scammer, I would have said Mike
Yeah.
without hesitation.
And it sounds like it has to do with his career in the short-term rental market, which,
Yes.
based on how he describes it, also doesn't surprise me a lot. So who knows what the reality behind all those comments is, but having found that out after I watched Mike on the season, I was like, "Oh, of course. That's just
Right.
his vibe. I'm sorry." Um, he is a pretty featured player in the pods, if you have not noticed. And he talks a lot about his business and like building an empire and his in-home sauna
And biohacking.
and biohacking. So let's get into the action. We open with a montage of romantic and dramatic moments between the couples, deceptively edited, of course, so that you don't really know who's going to be together. Set to Sea of Love by the Honey Drippers. I loved this. Very cinematic. I
They're
felt
up at
like
their
I was,
music budget, I feel like.
yeah, I was like, this is a vibe, actually. I do feel like I'm going into more of uh, a high-end experience,
Yeah.
than I usually do. And then the Lachey's are there, and that punctures the bubble immediately. They welcome the Denver singles into the pods, and off we go.
So we're going to try to go like chunk by chunk, like groups of people.
Chunk by chunk,
Chunk
chain
by
by
chunk,
chain.
chain by chain. We're going to start with, I think, the 6 characters that dominate my enduring memory of this season so
Yeah.
far.
These people, what a tangled web they weave.
Yes. Casey to Patrick to Anna to Blake to Megan to Jordan and Mike.
Yeah.
Chains.
It's they're dovetailing. So there are different like clusters here that we should try to discuss separately. So first we have Casey, Patrick, and Anna, one of the central love triangles of this season. Casey is a hair and makeup artist. She's 32. She's a very standard blonde hottie of like Mormon origin. She appears to be lapsed because she's drinking espresso martinis and she's wearing some outfits that I'm sure you cannot wear garments underneath. But she does talk about her Mormon upbringing. Her father served his mission in Korea and he started singing in Korean. And now her sister is really into singing in Korean. And she's like, my sister's just this like cute little blonde white girl who's into singing in Korean. Isn't that so quirky? um, yeah, so The whiteness of this season, is really
Ooh,
overbearing, actually.
overbearing and uncomfy as hell.
Yeah, especially
As
because Patrick is not white. He is
right.
actually Asian, and that is also a pretty central part of, like, of his insecurities that kind of brought him to the pods. He's a construction project manager, he's 30, and he's like, "I am an Asian American man in a predominantly Caucasian area. When I was growing up here, I was always the only Asian kid in class, and that really affected my ability to, like, comfortably date. Like, people didn't see me as a viable option because of that. I wasn't seen as attractive because of that, and it's made me very insecure." His interactions in the pod do seem to kind of validate that
Yeah,
at times.
absolutely.
His parents were immigrants. They split when he was young. They were Chinese Cambodian immigrants who came over from South Asia, and he now has his stepdad's last name, Suzuki. But he himself is Chinese Cambodian, not Japanese. Um, Casey has her own like host of insecurities that are more related to just being a hot girl in the internet age.
Yes, her most recent ex was very into social media. Unclear if that was like his job, but it seems maybe he has a presence on TikTok
She was
because
like, "He was
that's
on social media." I was like,
yeah,
"Say more."
yeah. We do learn they met via TikTok. She saw him on TikTok. So presumably he has some sort of presence, but she says that their relationship ended because she kind of always felt like there was another hot blonde on the horizon. He was always like on his phone, and she ended up feeling bad about herself
Yeah,
often.
she's like, "Why don't I look like that hot blonde?" She also dated her high school sweetheart for 10 years off and on and has never not been cheated on by a guy. So a lot of these are sort of common insecurities and past relationship struggles for women who come on these shows.
Yeah, they're always like, I've been cheated on multiple times. I'm just looking for a man to literally not tell me a lie. So I'm
Yeah.
here.
Here, how could they lie to me through the pod? Anna is a hairstylist. She's 27. And like Patrick, she is Asian American, and she is also very used to being the only Asian person in a predominantly white environment. And she tells Patrick she's historically dated white men because that's who was around. But at other points, she also says that she would have like normally written off a guy who wasn't white. So it seems like maybe it's gone a bit deeper than that, that she's kind of internalized that that is who she finds attractive.
Attractive. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot there. And I feel like I'll be very curious to see Asian commentators speak about their interpretation of all of these conversations. Cause obviously there's a lot of dynamics at play that like
Mhm.
we can recognize, but we don't have any personal experience with.
Yeah. Um, and Anna also seems to be struggling with the fact that people make certain assumptions about her in part because of her race. She's like, because of that, and because I have tattoos and I'm more outspoken, people assume certain things about me, and I want them to get to know me without making those assumptions. So she and Patrick very quickly realize that they are very similar in lots of ways that they rarely encounter in people that they date. They realize they both have immigrant parents. They quickly piece together that they're both Asian American. And so they have a lot of cultural similarities as Asian American people, as people whose parents were immigrants. And they really bond over that and open up about some of their fears. Like Anna tells Patrick she's really worried that about her parents being upset that she's gone on a TV show. She's like, that's not normal in immigrant families. My mom just wouldn't understand that.
So that's sort of hanging over her the whole time.
Yeah. Like this is very she's never been out of touch with her family for this long. She knows they wouldn't understand what she was doing. So it's definitely weighing on her. And Patrick is really drawn to the fact that he like relates to what she is talking about. And it seems like it kind of reminded me of a little bit of what we've seen happen with couples like Shake and Deep Tea or Cal and Sarover, people who were raised around mostly white people, but who are not white themselves. They kind of internalize that white beauty paradigm, that white beauty standard, and they want that in the people they're dating. But then when the looks are taken out of the equation, they're like, "Oh, wow, it's so great to be with someone I'm so similar to. I
Right.
love
Oh
our
my gosh. There are
similarities."
these conversations that I've never been able to have with a partner because I've only
Yeah.
dated white people.
Yeah.
And that feels really exciting. But then you can also feel them, I think, especially Anna, kind of questioning themselves of like, but how will I feel when the looks are reintroduced?
Right, and what we definitely saw with Shake and Deep D, for sure, is that when the looks are reintroduced, that white beauty paradigm rushes back in. Like,
Right.
it's not that that was overcome. They were only like, he was only able to connect with her in a romantic way because he couldn't see that she wasn't the kind of woman he's normally attracted to. And so that's clearly an anxiety for both of them, but their chemistry is really strong through the wall.
Yeah. They like have really good banter. They're really connecting. They're very drawn to each other. Patrick and Casey are like chemistry forward.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like her manner is very, like, shy and reserved almost, or very, like, even-keeled, but he sees her as the person who, like, really challenges him and wants to, like, debate with him and tease him, and it just seems sort of at odds with her kind of affect
Demeanor.
and demeanor. Whereas Anna is much more, like, bold and confrontational, but that's not he associates her more with the fact that they're so comfortable and similar. Um, and so Patrick and Casey spend a lot of time talking about how prior to this experiment, attraction was very important to both of them. Good
And when
thing
I
that
hear
now they
something
can't
like
see each
that,
other.
I'm just like, that doesn't go away.
Yeah. No, it's just on ice, and what we see is that so many people just come up with an idea of what they think that the person on the other side of the wall looks like, and
Right.
it
That
of
like
course, it's someone
conveniently,
attractive.
conveniently fits what they hope.
Right, and then if you're really lucky, the person that you meet matches up with that, but if not, it turns out attraction is really important again. Apparently, Casey's dad and stepmom are super hot for each other. She's like, "My
Which
dad and just was, like, telling me this won't work because it's so important to really feel the heat of that passion."
I hope for my father to never say that to me.
Yeah, I'm really thankful I've never had this conversation with my dad. He has always trusted me, I think, to figure out how important that
Yeah,
is to me
exactly.
myself. I was like, I can't imagine sitting down with my dad and having him be like, "I am so hot for your stepma."
You're like, look, I
Like,
hope
"That's
you
your
are.
business." Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, over there.
over there. And so she's like, "Yeah, he's really worried that this just won't work because of that." And Patrick at this point shares his insecurities that kinda leads to him really revealing his ethnicity to Casey for the first time. He's very hesitant about it, but he's like, "One of my big insecurities was about attraction and whether people really felt attracted to me, because I was the only one of my background growing up in Colorado in my classes at school, and that was uncomfortable for me." And Casey's like, really wants to know what his ethnicity is, and he really doesn't wanna tell her.
It just leads to this very uncomfortable, drawn out exchange where she's like, so you don't want to tell me? And he's saying, like, uh, should I? And she says, yes. And there's long pauses and he keeps gearing up. I mean, he's clearly very
He
anxious.
thinks this is gonna blow it up.
Yeah.
And like many things that you share in the pods, I think people are often afraid that the reveal will blow things up, but often in the pods, people are able to lie to themselves and say, that is something that I
100%.
that doesn't matter to me. That really doesn't matter to me. No one wants to hear that news and say, well, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, we actually almost never see them say it's a deal breaker in the pods. Like, it will
Yeah.
happen occasionally.
Yeah, very rarely. And so he finally shares that he is Cambodian Chinese, he's Asian, and Casey admits that she's never dated an Asian man before. And he talks a little bit about how people have expressed to him that Asian men are somehow inherently unattractive. They would say, like, you're pretty good looking for an Asian guy, or why would you date an Asian guy? Like, even like he's Asian, why would you do that? And he's like, I'm just a normal Colorado bro. Um, and people don't like see that because of how I look. But now that I'm older, I'm confident in my culture and my experiences. But it's clear that he still really is not confident in his attractiveness to people romantically.
And I get that. If you've spent your whole life hearing things like this and you know it is a real feeling that a portion of people in your dating pool are going to have, whether or not they admit it, like, how could you not be filled with insecurity and like angst over it? I don't know. It made me so sad. And I
Yeah.
just was so worried the whole time that Casey was going to disappoint him.
Yeah. No, I felt and Anna, honestly. I was
Yeah.
like, Anna relates to him, but that doesn't mean that she is attracted to men who look like him. And that's just the reality that they're both bringing to the table. Casey's never dated an Asian man. It's clear that she's never really considered it. And neither really has Anna. And I really felt for Patrick.
Me too.
It's like yeah, I don't have anything more insightful to say about it, except that that is a really unfair and difficult experience, and that would really shape how you felt. And what it does, I think also, it seems to me, kind of put him in a power position that is not ideal. Like, he
Yeah.
comes into these romantic connections just like already kind of convinced that there's a big strike against him, that he would be kind of lucky for them to find any reason to be okay with dating him despite that. And he just has to hope that through force of personality or compatibility or whatever it may be, that they would be willing to give him a chance. And that is not really a strong, confident position to come into a courtship from. And it really sucks that that is the position that he's in mentally. And also, like, you can envision a lot of seasons of this show. I mean, these are all, they're set in metro areas. A lot of people have dated diversely and like not here. Like, like everyone is just
Right.
like, oh my God, I've barely even met an Asian person.
I don't have a handle on the full cast of every single season. There's now been 9 of these. They bleed together for me, but this felt like some of the most visible Asian representation that we've ever seen
Yeah.
on the show.
And a lot
And
of it is about the anxiety of
right.
being not perceived as attractive, especially as an Asian American man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of becomes actually almost the heart of both of his relationships that we see. Like, obviously,
There's a lot that's
there's a
on the
lot
cutting
that we
room
don't
floor.
see. But most of what we see is this, like, going over the fear of not being seen as attractive, of not being accepted because of his race.
Casey also makes some comments that I think she views as like reassuring and that frankly Patrick receives as reassuring, but that made me feel like a little
Yeah.
uncomfy. She does say that her white Mormon family is very accepting, which is wonderful. That's not one of the comments that gave me a weird feeling. But then she kind of goes down the line and she's like, my brother only dates Asian women, actually.
Uh,
Which, oh, there were just a little fetish red flag just popped up like, "Bleh,
yeah,
bleh."
I don't know if a white guy who only dates Asian women is a super reassuring type of guy to have in the periphery here.
And she's like, my other brother's girlfriends are like, one of them's half black, one of them's from Mexico. She's like, my family would love to see me with an Asian guy. They're sick of these fuckboy little white dudes. Again, nothing like inherently wrong
Well,
with
like,
it.
she is presenting this as like,
You don't need to
you don't need
worry.
to worry. You're welcome here because white men have failed me and my brothers date
N-
women who aren't white, and they
Yeah,
love dating women who aren't white, actually. They think it's even better. And we don't even have time to unpack
all
all
of
of that
that.
fully, but I do think that like sometimes white conservative men seeking out women from cultures or ethnic groups that are perceived as like raising women to be more submissive or than white women from America is not always a sign that they're going to be incredibly accepting and supportive of their white daughter or sister um, dating a man from another race, and it can actually feed into some kind of like problematic attitudes, not necessarily, but
Right. We
like
don't we obviously don't have enough information about
right.
Casey's family. We don't know her politics, but the way that this conversation went, it just like set off something in my stomach a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't know. I grew up in Indiana. My first boyfriend, my only like serious boyfriend was Asian American. And I definitely fucked up in plenty of conversations that we had when we started dating. And, you know, it- sometimes there's just like an ignorance that needs bridging. Um, and
Yeah.
at the same time, like, because I have had a relationship, I've had friends who are Asian American and who are navigating a lot of these issues in the dating world. Like, this definitely set off alarm bells for me, big time.
Yeah.
Um, and after this, though, Patrick feels comforted, and I think that this is part of what I was worried about with the insecurity that he's bringing to the table. That like there might be things here that if he had more people who had more in common with him around him, if he had more of a community, that maybe he would also take some of these things as red flags. And instead, he's just like, well, maybe there is some basis here for her to consider accepting me, and that's more than I expected. It made me a little bit concerned for him that like he is so just like unsupported by peers around him who are Asian American, and like everyone is just white, and he's like, how can I get into this club? No one thinks that I'm like good enough to date them, and you're willing to maybe overlook certain things or take certain things as a positive that maybe you should be a little bit more skeptical about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, we're not coming from
A place of personal experience and
right, but this
yeah,
all gave us both kind of
a hinky feeling.
yeah.
And I think especially then seeing what happens at the end of this batch of episodes, which we will discuss in part 2 of this recap, some of that perhaps bears out. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we will get into the next cluster of this love chain.
And we're back. Let's talk about Patrick, Anna, Blake, and Megan. Blake is an accountant. He's 32. He feels that he's prioritized career over relationships, and now he's ready to prioritize relationships.
Because his grandma said he needs to get married.
This was so funny. He was like, even my grandma realizes that I need to find a wife, so it's probably time. And I was like, sir, please. My grandma was trying to get all of us married off from the age of 21. Like, you're like, oh no, my grandma thinks I should get married. The last person who would ever want me to get married. That's what grandmas do. But to be honest, Blake never pops for me on camera. Like, he is two
I
women's
liked
apparent number
him.
one, but I'm sorry, I almost immediately forgot he was on the show. I keep forgetting that these two women were dating him. Like, I keep conceiving of their relationship clusters, and he's just not in them
You've just
in my
erased him. You know
mind.
what?
I've
It's too many
erased him.
people. So I do understand. I was just like, oh, this guy, seems like isn't giving me any red flags, and so many of them are.
Yeah.
He stood
He's
out for the lack of red flags.
yeah, he's just normal in a
He's
way
just
where he, to
normal.
me, has no traits. I'm
Well, that's
sorry.
probably why he has to leave the show. So he is in a love triangle with Anna and then Megan, who is a business owner, 33. She used to work for an oil and gas company, which sold in 2020. And that quote gave her a little more flexibility, AKA made her rich or richer. I sort of suspect this is like familial wealth and then career wealth. But the camera spends a lot of time like lingering on her Cartier love bracelets and her diamond tennis bracelet. And she tells the camera that she thinks she's single because men are just intimidated by her and her successes. Also, her friends call her Sparkle Megan.
And she keeps introducing herself that way.
The confidence.
I mean, yeah, I was like, I don't know why you think that this is the main thing that men will want to know about you, but more importantly, it just doesn't seem to really capture the kind of person she is at all.
I agree. I was so struck by this. I feel like the nickname must have originated because she says she has like a blinged out, like her car is blinged out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I
She
feel
has a
like the nickname is tied to that because then in the pods, yeah, she has some like fancy jewelry, but mostly she's just in like gray sweatsuits and her
yeah, black
affect is quite
leggings.
like
Yeah.
neutral.
Yeah, like she'll wear a sparkly shoe maybe or like a sparkly top occasionally, but I think
Who
of
among
her
us won't?
in when imagine her in my mind's eye, she's in like neutral athleisure. And
Exactly.
that is her vibe. And so to keep telling people that you're Sparkle Megan because you love sparkles, I'm sorry, there are plenty of women in the pods who wear sparkly shoes and tops sometimes. You do not seem any more sparkly than anyone else. Is this just a way of being like, I wear diamonds?
Maybe. I feel like there are easier ways, but you know what? It does make an impression. Like all of the
Yeah.
men will be like, I met a girl named Sparkle Megan.
Maybe her friends are even more neutral. Maybe her friends are all just sort of swanning around in Eileen Fisher and black yoga sets. And
Yeah,
when
they're
she
all doing
wears
like
a
quiet
single
luxury.
right, they're wearing their khaki wool overcoat, and here she is with, oh my gosh, is that a sparkly shoe with your khaki wool overcoat? Megan, you're so sparkly. Tone it down. Anna's other connection with Blake is not, again, that memorable to me. Like, they connect over not being religious. Neither of them, they agree, are homophobic or racist.
We love
Yay.
that. We can't say that for everyone in this cast from what we've
Yeah.
seen.
And they do have a little, like, most of what we see of their relationship is honestly just the part where they foreshadow that Anna is going to ghost him.
Yes. They discuss whether either of them has ever ghosted someone and they're like, "Well, what's actually ghosting? It's kind of a moving definition kind of thing." And Anna says she's ghosted people she's just been talking to or just like not kept the texting going, but she's never ghosted anyone she's been seeing consistently.
But suddenly she
So,
seems to think that it sounds like a really good idea.
dangle, dangle, dangle. Anna does say that she feels incredibly safe with Blake. And for a while, it seems like he's maybe her number one, though she is very torn the whole time between Blake and Patrick.
Yeah. And Blake also connects with Megan. He seems to be very consistently her number one,
Yeah,
although Anna is his number
I
one.
know. The intrigue.
Ugh. And then they just ripped all of the intrigue away from us so
I know.
quickly.
The ghosting's
Um,
devastated me. I'm not going to lie.
Blake and Megan bond over the fact that they both lost their fathers, and Blake talks about how regretful he is that he wasn't closer to his dad because they only bonded through sports. And as he grew up, he started to resent that that was kind of all his dad really gave him was just doing sports together. And when his dad began declining when he was ill, he didn't really get over himself enough to kind of rebuild their relationship before he passed. And Megan talks about how she also had to kind of forgive her dad for some things after he died. And She says that he had early onset dementia before his death, and because her father had type 1 diabetes, I believe. So he had like
Health issues her
health
whole
issues.
life.
Yeah. And so that kind of like hung over a lot of her life. But she's like, now that he's gone, I more think about how I feel like he's still with me.
It's a very like sweet and touching exchange. And you can see why
Yeah.
she feels so bonded to Blake as a result.
Yeah.
They
And she
also have
tells
a
him,
very funny conversation about weddings, which like I was like, is this just a way for Megan to signal to Blake that she's very wealthy?
I know. I was like, this is crazy to reveal. She tells him that she used to want a big wedding, but then she saw what people were spending. And she's like, ugh, it's just like, it's kind of a party for everyone else. Like, why would you spend that much money? And I was like, yeah, you're throwing a big party for the people you love. You're saying you should spend more of your money just on yourself? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes. Um, I'm sorry, I love weddings, that's my bias. She then floats that Blake could maybe be her plus one to a friend's upcoming Lake Como wedding at a $400,000 venue. The venue
Like the venue
alone
fee is
was
alone
$400,000.
400K. I'm like, well, yes, I too cannot afford to throw a wedding where the venue fee is $400,000. That does seem a little
Right.
absurd.
Like,
You're right,
I
Megan.
I was thinking one thing when you said big wedding, and it turns out that you meant like $1 million
Yeah.
wedding. It seems is what you meant by a big wedding. So maybe you and I can maybe you, if you had my wedding, which I thought was a big wedding, that would be a small and humble wedding. So after these couples have all had a chance to kind of like settle into this love chain, things start to kind of shift with Anna and Patrick because they have this kind of emotional conversation about all their commonalities, and they start to like probe a little bit more into what they know about each other. And she's like, we know we're both Asian American. Are you Korean? He's like, no. She's like, what are you? And it reveals that he's Cambodian Chinese. And she's like, I'm Chinese. And they're both like,
They're like,
wow, that's
that's
really
hot.
hot. That's so hot. When people are behind the wall, literally anything is hot. And after this conversation, she's like, wow, my husband might be behind this wall. And then she's like, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. Like, don't hurt me, Patrick. And Patrick is like writhing and clutching the bridge of his nose between his fingers, which he's doing all the time. It stresses him out so bad to be in these pods. Like one of the women will be
Release
like, I
yourself,
really,
Patrick.
I know. One of them will be like, I really like you, Patrick. And he'll be like, oh, and like clutch the bridge of his nose and be like, yeah, yeah, no, me too. He's in agony. This seems to kind of make Anna realize this conversation that like she's starting to like catch feelings for Patrick. They're not just friends like she initially thought they might be. There's
Yeah.
chemistry. She thinks maybe they could be the ones for each other. And after this, she goes back to the lounge and kind of has a little breakdown with the girls, trying to like process her two connections and the unexpected feelings she's having. She's like, Blake is safe, but with Patrick, I feel like so comfortable, even though I might not go for him in the real world. And she's in her like confessional being like, I'm just learning so much about myself, but she's crying. And it's clear that she's just overcome with a lot of feelings.
Yeah. So after this, Patrick kind of makes it clear that he thinks he's probably going to choose Anna, despite his good connection with Casey. He starts to feel like what they have might be love. So at the end of episode 2, he enters the pod, seemingly ready to declare himself to Anna, and she is not there.
Ghosted.
Ghosted.
This is really rough. It seems like the producers keep just telling him to go back in the pod
Or
and
like
check
don't say
again.
anything to him.
And
Because,
he's like, there's
sometimes
no one in
someone will
there.
come a little late, like come into the pod a little bit late into the date. We see this happen a few times. So he keeps like darting back into the hall and being like, there's no one here. And then going back in and saying, hello, hello, hello. This is so brutal.
Yeah.
Finally, he realizes Anna isn't coming. And afterwards, in his confessional, he tells a producer that he was falling in love with Anna.
Yeah, he's really shaken, like, he thought Anna was the one, and it seems like Anna it seems like she actually left as she was going to the date, because all the women in the
Yeah.
lounge also say, like, "Why isn't she back from her date yet?" Like, they seem to think that she left for this date, and then she never showed up, so it must have been a bit chaotic with.
The whole thing seems very chaotic, and also
Yeah.
because of the way that they edit it, we see pieces of the ghostings in, like, different times, but it seems like they happen in very quick succession.
Yes.
But you'll see it, like, spread across a couple like, 2 episodes,
I
so
think it might have been 2 consecutive days.
it's honestly hard to
It's hard to
tell.
tell. But Blake at this point also seems to be leaning toward choosing Anna. And he is going to have a date with her right after the date with Patrick. But a producer comes in to the men's quarters and lets him know that his date actually went home. So back in the women's quarters, Kate reveals that she isn't sure what happened, but Anna came back from her last date feeling bad and decombusting. De What
I
word do you think
love
she was going
creative
for here?
language.
Yeah. That kinda makes it sound like she was uncatching on
Yeah.
fire.
I think
She
she means she
was
was, like,
she
having
was
an
being
emotional
quenched.
breakdown.
She was being squelched. Yeah, no, she was having an emotional breakdown. She was emotionally decompensating. Um, and then on text screen comes up that says, "Anna chose to leave the experiment. She did not say goodbye to her dates." Can you say goodbye to your dates?
I don't know.
I don't recall ever seeing someone in the pods being
Yeah, I
like,
feel
"I'm
like
leaving,
probably they
goodbye."
say, "If you wanna go home, you're going now," but it's more dramatic for them to say, like, they didn't say
Yeah.
goodbye.
They didn't say she refused to say goodbye to her dates.
Yeah, and they're just stating fact. She didn't say goodbye.
Yeah, she didn't. Meanwhile, Megan is really torn between 3 men, but Blake is her number 1. She heads into the pods for a night date, and no one is there. It's a second ghosting.
A second ghosting! At this point, I was screaming. I was like, "What is happening?
What is
This season
happening?
is
They're
crazy."
fleeing like rats leaving a sinking ship. They're like, "The vibes are bad. I
So
gotta
we
get out of here."
we actually see a bit of Blake deciding to leave. We see a conversation where he is in the men's quarters chatting with the producer, and he says last night was a wake-up call. So yeah, maybe last night. So maybe it's the next day. It's probably the next morning.
I think it's the next day.
Yeah. And he says he's not sure if it makes sense to continue. And the producer is very supportive. She's like, "It's your journey. You can do whatever you want to do. It's your choice." And I was like, way to beat the "we force people to stay" charges, kinetic content. You're doing it. It's like they always show the food and the water now. And also
Yeah.
producers being like, "You're allowed to leave. You're not a hostage."
It's become comical, like the smorgasbords of food that they lay out on the counter and show everyone jovially being like, "How many eggs do you want? You can have as many as you like." On Kinetic, they're paying for it. And you can go home whenever you want. They will not hold you hostage. Blake tells the camera that he's just one of those people who needs more time than this experiment can give, and he just sort of coincidentally realized that right after his number 1 left.
Yeah, I sort of feel like he panicked. He was like, "The person I was actually interested in is no longer here, and now I'm being left to, like, completely
Yeah.
redirect my energies, and it's just not gonna work."
Kind of what I mean, I think about Blake not popping on camera, and maybe it's what they chose to air, or maybe this is what he just gave them. This is a moment when I think we could have seen some raw reflection from Blake on his number 1 leaving and how he's not sure he can continue the process, or like, how are things really with
No.
Megan? But we don't see that from Blake. He gives us this sort of weird, sort of surface level misdirection coded excuse that's like, "Last night was a wake up call. I'm a person who needs more time. I have to leave." And I feel
Bye.
like that was just a little pat euphemism for what he was feeling, and I have no idea what was actually going on. And how am I supposed to connect with someone like that?
Well, you don't need to,
I
because the
don't,
next
because
thing we
he's
see is Blake chose to leave the
gone.
experiment. He did not say goodbye to Megan.
Right. No, I don't need to, but it did make it hard for me to look back on this batch of episodes and remember crucial parts of it because my mind erased Blake immediately. I was like, there is just a man-shaped void
And
wherever
that's why
he
we take
is.
notes, Claire,
You
to
know, I
fill in
kept
the
going back in the
void.
notes and being like, "Blake? Who's Blake? Why is Megan talking about Blake? She's in a
Uh,
love triangle with Jordan and Mike. There's no Blake."
we haven't even gotten to Jordan and Mike yet.
I know.
So when Megan realizes that Blake is ghosting her, we see her kind of break down to the camera. She's like, look, maybe he didn't feel the connection, but show up.
Yeah.
And back in the women's quarters, she starts to cry and she's talking to Casey in this scene. And I was like, what is going on? Because when she comes up to Casey, it looks like Casey has been crying. And then they're sort of crying together. I noticed this on my second watch. And later we get a little moment where Mike tells Patrick that during his last date with Casey, they broke up. And it made
Mhm.
me wonder, were Mike and Casey more seriously dating? And was there some sort of like intense split that we didn't see? I
Interesting.
don't know. I don't know. That could just
That
be
well,
a full
there's so
conspiracy
much that we
theory.
don't
I
see.
know. It just felt so notable that I'm like, why is Casey crying? Is she's just so empathetic to
She's an
like
empath.
yeah.
Your feelings are my feelings, Megan. But Megan is really sad, but she is in a love square with 3 men,
Yeah.
and honestly, she doesn't know this, but she was probably not gonna get Blake anyway, and she's like, "Maybe this is my dad's way and the universe's way of kind of pushing me towards 2 other good connections that I might have written off." And this is around the time that she actually decides to keep investing in a connection that she was about to cut off, and so this probably feels even more like a sign that, like, that was the right move.
Yeah. So, a brief pause on that to get back to the rest of what we see between Casey and Patrick after Anna leaves. Patrick decides to stay and explore things with Casey, his number two. And he's like, maybe Anna and I were just, quote, too similar. And he and one of the other guys joke that it can be like, quote, fucking your twin. So
Yeah, you don't want someone who's too
charming.
similar to her to you.
Charming.
I feel like fucking your twin. Like, he's clearly trying to wrap his head around what's happened. Like, he was about to declare his love to Anna. She ghosted him. He's like, "Is my connection with Casey strong enough to stay and consider proposing to her, like, just a few days after I was clearly planning to propose to someone else?" So, he's sitting with some of the guys, including Mike, um, discussing what happened, and Mike reveals at this point that he was dating Casey, and they broke up, on their last date, and he's like, "Maybe, maybe it's because we didn't really have a connection, but my read on Casey is," and it seems like he's about to issue some kind of warning,
Yeah. That
but
is the vibe.
Patrick
And
cuts him
Patrick's like,
off.
no. Patrick's like, no, no, let's not talk about this anymore. Like, he doesn't want to hear it.
He's like, "I just lost my number 1 girl, and now you wanna, like, say some shit about my number 2
Yeah.
girl?"
He's
Like,
like, you will not.
I do feel like, again, Patrick feels like he needs this too much.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I was struck by the fact that Patrick is so connected to Anna. I don't feel that he actually has the confidence in his connection with Casey. And it feels a little bit like they both end up willing themselves to get there.
Yeah, the rest of their relationship is fraught with all of those feelings, and
Most of it happens in the next 3 episodes.
yeah, but
But
there's some of it here. I don't
yeah,
know. I feel like I mean, to be fair to Patrick also, I wouldn't want to listen to Mike talk shit about
so
my
true.
new number 1 guy
Not that
either.
he's such a reliable narrator.
Like, maybe it's just that he's like, "I don't care what Mike says," or "I like Casey and I don't wanna hear Mike talk shit about her." That's all totally valid, but it does feel like he is in the process of talking himself into accepting Casey's love, and he doesn't want that to be interrupted by any sort of reality check. He's like, "No, no, 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 I don't wanna hear it. Like, listen, I just realized, like, Casey's waiting for me. She really likes me or she loves me, and, like, that's what she's been trying to tell me, and I need to just, like, really focus on that." Patrick then tells a producer that he and Casey agree on basically everything, but when prompted for specifics, he can't think of anything, which
So
is
that bodes
promising.
well.
I mean, and we aren't shown enough to really see them agreeing on anything except that they both like basketball.
And they both think they'll be hot for each other.
That's true. They do think they'll be really hot for each other. Um, yeah, it's not it's not looking good. During their next date, Casey and Patrick talk about how they would keep things spicy after they were in a relationship by like role playing. Like he comes up to her at the bar, they pretend they don't know each other. He'd just order her an espresso martini
Multiple
and
conversations about role playing in this
they
season.
things got really sexy in the pods this season.
It
Like
really did.
there's a lot of dirty talk and a lot of pretty explicit discussion of intimate things. And so they're talking about how they would get things going with this role play and how they'd just be looking at each other and be like, oh, that's just a random, like, hot ass guy. And then they start joking that they don't know because they could be lying about their looks. And she reassures Patrick that she'd never lie to him. That would be like telling a guy you look like Megan Fox.
Wow. Chelsea Blackwell, shout out.
And we
I
can
think
tell
they
that,
did film this right after that season aired.
yeah. I mean, and you can tell that Patrick watched because he laughs really hard.
Yeah.
He's like, I get the reference. A little Love is Blind super fan Easter egg. And Casey tells him that boys didn't like her in middle school, and then strongly implies that she got hot in high school because she's like, I still wasn't the hottest one in high school.
Imagine. Imagine.
I too still wasn't the hottest one in
Yeah.
high school.
I
That's not
wasn't
lying
even
to say
the
that.
hottest 5 or 10.
One thing I can honestly say about myself in high school is I wasn't the hottest one. I think we all understand. Patrick says he looks the same as in high school, but his internal confidence is higher. And she's like, we're going to be super hot for each other. And he's like, yeah. But what we do see happening in their dynamic is that Casey really wants more reassurance from Patrick, and Patrick doesn't really feel an eagerness to give it to her.
No.
And like he almost left, clearly. Like he thought it was going to be Anna, and now he is trying to keep this connection going, but he isn't that sure about it.
Yeah, he's kind of like either this will blossom or I will leave single, and both options are on the table. So he's not like eager to commit.
Right. So she'll be like, "Do you like me?" And he'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, totally." Like not in the tone with the enthusiasm that you want to
She'd
hear.
be like, "Yeah, I like you. Yeah,
Uh,
I like you."
and then he tells her that he is holding back a little bit because his only concern about her is that he's not 100% certain on how bad she wants this. Which is like, listen, everyone's allowed to want validation. And I think the way that this comes off is pretty yikes. Like the way this comes off is that like he's not sure about her and he's just sitting back and waiting for her to prove that she wants it so bad. Like, how bad do you want it? What will you do to show me how bad you want me? It's not a good look, right? Like this should
No.
be a give and take. But then I thought, I wonder if this is just a way of saying, without saying it, that he's not sure she'll actually be into him because he's Asian.
Maybe. I think I don't know what he intended, but the outcome is just Casey being like, "Oh my God, you're like questioning whether I'm here for the right reasons." Kind
Right.
of
That's
thing.
what she takes away from it. She's like,
Yeah.
you think I would be here just to be on a TV show and be bullshitting you? That's not true. Like, I'm only here because of our connection. I've wanted to walk out before, and I haven't done it because of our connection. Meanwhile, Patrick's sitting back and being like, I just question your passion sometimes, which
It's like they are doomed. That was my main feeling. They are doomed. And that is the last we see of
that is the last we
the
see
two
of
of them in these 3 episodes. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to get into Jordan, Megan, and Mike.
And we're back. So let's talk about the Jordan, Megan, and Mike cluster. So
Oh,
aside
man.
from Blake, the man who wasn't there, Megan's two other connections are Mike, who we discussed at the top, real estate investor, 37. He felt tied down by his desk job in business. So now he just, as he puts it, buys a property every year. And that's his job. That's going to
Every
be my job.
year.
I'm just going to buy a property every year. What's your job? Oh, I buy a property every year. My job is buying a really expensive thing every year.
That's it. That's it. That's the whole job. We also learned that he is a part of a nationwide
It's crazy.
wealthy men's organization that doesn't have a name, but does have 6 pillars.
Is
Claire,
it secret?
I
Is
don't know.
Okay, so did any if you watch 30 Rock, there is like a running thread where Jack Donaghy, the Alec Baldwin character, the executive at NBC, belongs to a business leadership organization called Six Sigma that has like pillars of like business that he like shapes himself around, and they all get together for like secret meetings. And I was like, I'm sorry, is that what this is, or is there another one? Like, are men just out there, like rich men, just they have time on their hands and
No,
they
like
have money they don't know what to do with,
literally
so
what
they're
is
like,
going on.
let's come up with
Someone
an organization for wealthy men that has pillars.
blow this shit up. Someone identify this organization. What he specifically says, you wrote down this quote, Claire. Thank you for your service. Quote, I'm part of this larger, we call it a tribe. Okay. But it's a national thing. There's a bunch of guys that are wealthy that are a part of it. It's not just about money and business and whatnot. It has pillars. There's like
Oh,
6 pillars. Health is one of the pillars, diet and exercise. Do we think those are 3 separate pillars?
I think that health is diet and exercise to
That was
him.
my read, but I'm like, I don't know. There's a
If
lot
you
of he
do,
has a lot of focus.
he's like, if you do diet and exercise, that's health right there. Like, there's,
No, I do think he thinks that's all of health.
yeah. First of all, don't call it a tribe. Don't do
Yeah.
that. Stop it.
Please do not. Please refrain.
Secondly, I'm sorry. He's just the way he's describing this is like my 5-year-old making up, like telling me about a club he made up with his friends. It's like there's just guys, they're wealthy that are part of it, and then there's just like money, but also like pillars, and we all have to like do the pillars. I'm like, are you fine?
I don't
What
know,
is
but I'm
this?
alarmed. I'm alarmed. I
Is this
don't.
Skull and Bones for grown-ups?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't like it. I'm getting bad vibes. So
no, I don't. I listen. I'm all for male
yeah,
socialization,
the male
ending male
loneliness
loneliness,
epidemic. We
but
don't love it.
not through secret societies of rich men. Like, that is something that I actually don't support. I think
Yeah.
rich men should be lonely, or they should have to give up some money and be around regular people.
Or they should at least be doing everything like in public as much as possible.
Yeah,
Rich men doing secrets. It's
if
not
you're a
good for
rich
a
man and you
society.
want to be part of like a nationwide wealthy men's organization, it should have to be like the Chamber of Commerce, or
I
like,
agree.
the government, or the board of a major company. You don't get to make up a little club where you go in secret.
Well, apparently they do. The other person in this love triangle is Jordan. He's 29. He's a service manager. Unsure what services he manages, but he does it. He is a single dad to 5-year-old Luca. He has like fully tatted arms and drives a Kia. And as you put it, Claire, he looks like John Mulaney and Matthew Broderick, like mated and had a little alt baby.
Yeah, his
He's
face is
cute.
so John Mulaney and Matthew Broderick squished
I
together.
really see John Mulaney.
100%.
The hair.
Like, that was the first thing I saw, yeah, and the teeth, and, like, but he's so, like, pink and white, He seems so, like, scrubbed and, like, young. He's not the only one who has that in this cast, but then he has, like, fully tatted sleeves, and he's, like, mostly what I wear is just, like, a black T-shirt, black jeans, and like just a little bit alt, but in a freshly scrubbed way. Megan and Mike quickly hit it off when she says she's starting a medically driven, tech-enabled health club,
My
and
nightmare.
Mike has the exact opposite reaction from the one I think we had. Our reaction was like,
Do not pass go.
"Do not pass. You do not pass the vibe check. Absolutely not." He's like, "You pass the vibe check. Hell yeah, medically driven, tech-enabled health club."
He's like,
He's
I
like,
love red light therapy. I mean, look, I do have a red light mask, but he has like a red light panel installed in his house. He loves biohacking. He has an
"Of
in-home
course he
sauna. We've
does."
mentioned it a few times already. A
Yeah.
picture is being painted of who Mike
Listen,
is.
there are people who love medically driven tech-enabled health clubs, and they find each other and they fall in love, and that's natural. That makes sense.
And that's
Um,
beautiful for
Megan
them.
also loves gender roles, and
She loves them.
the
She
way that
loves
this
them.
actually comes up
This
is
made me
when
wish for death.
there are no words. She tells him she's type A, and he's like, "Well, how would you feel if I left my dirty dishes on the counter?" And she's like, "Well, I guess I'd be annoyed, but also I believe in more traditional gender roles." And I'm like,
So
"Wait,
I'll
that's..."
pick up for you when you leave your dirty dishes out? No.
I'm like,
No.
"What are you trying to convey with this?" It's like, "Well, I guess maybe you should put your dishes away, but actually I'm okay with it because it kind of is the woman's job to put the dirty
Yeah, she's
dishes
like,
in the
it is
dishwasher."
my role because she, quote, values the woman being that nurturer.
I'm nurturing those plates right into the soapy, sudsy water. I'm nurturing those plates so hard.
She also says she wants her man to be, quote, the provider, the security, the safety.
And she has to keep qualifying this because obviously she is rich and she doesn't want a man who's intimidated by her money. She keeps talking about how hard it is that men are intimidated by her career and her money. So she's like the provider, but like in the sense of like the security, the safety. She wants a vibe of manly protectiveness from her partner, even
But
though
also
she
a
is
man
rich.
who is going to respect that she's independently wealthy and successful and thus financially independent. So I was like, your gender
Right.
politics are confused, Megan.
Like a lot of women in the conservative movement today, like she has been very successful at girl bossing and at capitalism. And so it's hard for her to square that with her more conservative worldviews. It's
Yeah.
like, and not that I know much about Megan's politics, but that is, I think, a common thing
Well,
that is being like worked out among women on the right now, which is
yeah.
like, am I full trad wife? Like, I opt out. I'm going to be living a soft life, taking care of my 10 children. What could be softer than that while my husband brings home a paycheck? Or am I one of those conservative women who was raised to be like, I can be ambitious and powerful, but then I vote for Republicans and I believe in gender roles. How do I reconcile the fact that I do something that is very not traditionally the woman's role at all, according to conservative values, with the fact that like I otherwise believe in conservative
Yeah,
values and
we
want those in
don't
my
have
life?
confirmation of Megan's politics, but certainly this conversation, plus the fact that when I checked, she was following Trump on Instagram,
Mm,
it points in a direction.
yeah, it seems possible. I like this is one of the ways that you do sometimes see that being negotiated is like, well, I am successful and I want you to respect that, but also like I will kind of make up for that by taking care of the home as well and like being that angel of the house as well as being a kick-ass girl boss. And then I need you to like, I don't know, sleep on the outside of the bed or like whatever, little aesthetic thing they do to make the man seem like the security and the safety.
Well, we know what Mike will be doing, which is not sleeping with a white noise machine so that he can get
This
intruders.
was bananas. She sleeps with white noise, and he's like, "Oh, I can't do white noise because if there's any sound, maybe it's a guy thing. I need to be up in case there's like an intruder." And Megan's like, "That's hot." And I'm like, "Yeah." He says that now. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. You're gonna have a baby, and somehow he's gonna sleep so deeply through that baby crying,
Well, the
like
baby's not an intruder. The
like
baby's
every
your role as
father
the
I know.
nurturer. That's for the nurturer to take care of.
I
His body is only awakened by the noise of an outside intruder
Yeah.
when he has to do security
If
work.
he hears the rustle of an unfamiliar tennis shoe 2 floors below, he's awake. If your baby is lying 5 feet
Screaming.
away screaming, I don't know, it's like I just didn't wake up. It's the craziest thing, sweetie. I don't know.
Also, gonna say, Mike has Maha vibes.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
we don't know. We don't know, but the vibes are Maha. He's like always talking about how it's like so hard to go to the grocery store because he, quote, doesn't know enough to buy food.
well, diet and exercise are part of the health pillar, so it's so important that you buy the right food, and he doesn't know enough about that, so he needs to get married so that his wife can be the expert.
He's like, you'll be doing all the research that I simply don't have the time to do on, I guess, every item of produce in our local grocery store.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful. And she's like, "Yeah, I can be the expert on grocery shopping." But she does push back that she doesn't wanna do all the cooking. But, this is the kinda thing that I mean. It's like you dangle like, "I like
Yeah,
traditional
yeah.
gender roles," but then you don't actually wanna do the
Right. You don't
traditional
want to do,
gender
she doesn't have
roles.
time to do all of this.
She's
She
a
has
girl
a
boss.
business.
She has a business. She's starting a medically driven tech-enabled health club. How can she be doing all the grocery shopping and cooking and dishwashing?
Exactly.
It's not realistic. Like, you have a fantasy of this sort of, like, the AI slop portrait of, like, the beautiful blonde wife who's at the sink with her kids, and her husband is coming up behind her and giving her a kiss on the top of the head, but it's like, you don't have time for all that. You're starting a medically driven tech-enabled health club.
Exactly. What really comes across is that Megan and Mike are like game sees game. They see similarities in each other. They're like,
Yeah.
you would be my type on the outside. I would go for you. They're both clearly wealthy. They have these little signifiers of like hustle culture that draw them to each other.
Right.
And Mike
They
is
can
thrilled by
afford
this.
saunas, red light
Right.
therapy. They both have Tempur-Pedic mattresses.
Mike is like so happy about this, and Megan is drawn to it, but she's also like, didn't I come here to escape my type? Because it's not
Right.
been good in the past. So Megan's third connection is with Jordan, who is against type. And yet they connect really well. They have like a lot of like giddy banter. They're having a lot of fun together. He's a little less fancy than she is. That becomes clear. And they end up having this like running joke where he's constantly trying to guess what kind of car she drives. But it's like, we never get the answer. I'm
Right.
frankly dying to know.
When are we going to see her blinged out Rolls Royce? Like, we see him make a number of guesses. It's not a Tesla. It's not a Ferrari.
It's not like a Mercedes or BMW.
What could it be? It's not a Kia.
I don't know. Does he guess Range Rover?
Listen,
Bentley? I don't know.
is it a brand of car that we've never even heard of because it's just that
Or is it like
elite?
Rivian or something?
Ooh, I've heard those
Yeah.
are very expensive.
Yeah.
So
I want to know.
that's the vibe of their relationship, is that like he's like lives a very humble life. He drives a Kia. She clearly lives a very different existence. But that kind of becomes fodder for him to like make a lot of jokes, and they have like a really fun time talking about it. Whereas with Mike, it doesn't necessarily seem like they're having fun together. They're just like going through checklists and being like, yeah, like we're really the same on that. But we don't see as much like laughter and like an enjoyable dynamic. Jordan's main focus is his son Luca. He talks a lot about Luca in the pods. I don't think we've had a single dad be a central character on the show before.
No, I don't think so.
Obviously, like, you know, the mother is still involved. They're co-parenting, so Luca is with his mother. But like being a father to Luca is like really a central part of his life. And he's like, my kid is just like the best, and he deserves one more person to love him.
It's very
Megan
cute.
wants kids, but Jordan has had a vasectomy. He says he'd be willing to have it reversed for a partner.
And Megan also doesn't seem like so fully attached to like having to have
Yeah.
a biological
Well, at
child.
one point she's like, "Well, if the reversal didn't work, then I would just accept that that is not what was meant for me, and I
Yeah.
was meant to have a different path." Um, and he does admit that he initially wrote Megan off because he hates the nickname Sparkle Megan so much. I feel
Same,
like actually a
dude.
couple of the guys are like, "I didn't think I would like her because of Sparkle Megan, but she's actually cool." But she ended up consuming his thoughts. He loves her ambition and confidence. And they have this surprising or like unexpected connection, which is that Luca, like Megan's father, has type 1 diabetes. And Megan especially seems to feel like this is a really meaningful coincidence and like a sign that maybe she's meant to be in Jordan and Luca's life because she understands what comes with a diabetes diagnosis. She knows how to like help take care of her father, and she would be able to be like prepared to be a parental figure in Luca's life. Luca has an insulin pump, and Jordan talks about how hard it is to see his son dealing with this condition, but also trying to be grateful because other kids have cancer or other really serious illnesses. And he's like, it's just hard because he's so great and like he doesn't deserve to have a hard time. And she's like, "You're a great dad." And he says, "I hope so. Actually, I know so." And so humble. So initially, Megan seems to assume that her lifestyle and Jordan's will not mesh. You know, he talks about how he spends most of his money just like on experiences with his son. Like he doesn't really live a flashy lifestyle,
He
whereas
does
she
have
likes
Gucci
nice
shoes,
things.
though.
Yeah. He'll get himself a pair of Gucci shoes. Um, but it seems like he tries to keep like his overhead expenses low, whereas Megan
Yeah.
is like, the nice house, the nice car, like that's more how she rolls. And she goes into one of their night dates thinking that she's going to friend zone him. But they have such a kind of emotional and deep conversation about what their future could look like and their connection that she ends up reconsidering. She's like, he really surprised me. And I just don't think that I can put him in the friend zone anymore. And
And after
Jordan
this
is
date,
like,
it's also kind of a turning point for Jordan because he tells one of the other guys that he thinks he might be falling in love with Megan. And this is like right before Blake leaves. So I think this
so
all feels like signs to
right.
Megan.
Everything is pointing to Jordan, especially because some red flags begin to build on the Mike front. That feels weird to say because everything that Mike has said from the very beginning is a red flag to me. Like,
Same. He is a giant walking red flag. Every single thing I know about him is a red flag. He's full of red flags. I, if you look up red flag in the dictionary, it's just a picture of Mike. But
yeah.
a lot of the things that concern us do not concern Megan. But I think like some things start to make her have some
Yes.
questions.
And then I was like, am I projecting this onto her? Because she doesn't respond overtly to any of these things, really. But it does seem like they are being loaded right at this point where she's about to choose.
Yeah.
They're loading some of these more fraught conversations that might be giving her pause. So I was surprised that this did not result in an immediate pushback or argument or cutting off of the relationship, but it doesn't. Megan does not
Same.
respond to this. But what happens is that Mike, in the context of talking about how much they both value health and nutrition, brings up that one of the men, uh, Jordan, his son, has diabetes, his young son. And he says, I just don't see how that can be the case. He says that he had a friend who was pre-diabetic and just totally changed up his diet and was fine. He says health and nutrition just has to be top of mind. Then he's like, maybe it's not that easy for everyone. But like he clearly
Oh.
does think it's that easy for
No, he
everyone.
clearly is implying here that if health and nutrition were more top of mind for Jordan and his 5-year-old son, maybe Luca would be cured. Like that is the implication
Yeah.
here. It is so misguided and gross.
The lack of just basic medical
Right.
knowledge to be like, I just don't see how that can be the case. Well, maybe just like ask him about it. Like
Right.
maybe
Maybe
ask him
are
about
you an
type
expert
1
on
diabetes.
diabetes? Are you aware that there are different types?
Yeah. Like, he clearly thinks that Jordan has just been pouring corn syrup down Luca's mouth since birth. Like, that is what he thinks
Yeah.
happened. And he is, to be fair, not in a great spot to Google right now, but like there's information out there for those who wish to seek it about how people can have medical conditions, even diabetes, without any lifestyle
No,
choices
you
affecting that
can feel that
whatsoever.
Mike is one of those people that is like, anything that goes wrong with your health is a matter of personal responsibility and or personal failure.
Well, clearly, yeah, he definitely feels that like health is the outcome that arises when you add together diet and exercise. And so if you have bad health, then like something must have gone awry with one of those. And that is not such an unusual attitude these days, but it is an incredibly harmful one. And it has propelled RFK Jr. to
Right.
a place of
God.
national governmental prominence where like policies are being considered and put into place that
No, today
take
he's
away
out
people's
here.
access to medical care under the auspices of like, well, everyone should just eat more salad and they won't even need this medical care. This medical care is actually the problem because they should just be having salad.
You just know Mike is out here being like, yeah, pregnant women really shouldn't be taking Tylenol.
No, it's really like we see this playing out on a national stage right now in a way that is really threatening to a lot of people, especially people with medical conditions and disabilities, especially people who are particularly vulnerable to contagious illnesses. And like, and yet it's not something I encounter on an individual level very often. And this is what it fucking looks like. Like he's like, oh,
Correct.
that 5-year-old with diabetes,
It's
that's
that's his
someone
fault.
did that to him. It's probably his fault. That's not fair. He's 5. I'm sure his dad was feeding him brownies for every meal since
It
birth.
this is just
I
it's
assume, like,
so
I don't see how that could
frustrating.
happen unless that was the case, and I haven't looked into it any further, so I just assume that his dad gave him diabetes due to incompetence and not being
Ugh.
part of a secret men's organization that teaches you to adhere to the pillar of health. Like, what kind like, that is
If only
so
you were a part of
depr
this men's organization, you would know.
your son
You
would
would
not have
know how to get
diabetes
yourself
if
right out of that diabetes hole. This man is heinous. He also starts like telling
Well,
Megan
this
that
is crazy
he's
because then Megan kind of doesn't really respond much to this, she's just sort of like, "Okay, uh-huh,"
she
and
almost I was like, is she just in shock and unsure how to respond? Or does she feel uncomfortable because she doesn't then feel
Right,
like she can be like, well, my dad had diabetes?
right. Is she
We
just
don't
and that's
know.
something if you share views like this that are, like, offensive to large groups of people, to maybe women you're trying to marry, there's a very strong chance that that you will be offending them, that you will be, like, talking shit about someone close to them, and they won't even feel comfortable telling you that. Like, ugh, it's anyway, she doesn't push back on it. I don't know, maybe she's also just, like, taking it on board, like, "I haven't chosen him yet, but, like, that's information." And then he just starts being like, "Anyway, I'm still in touch with my exes."
And Megan's like, oh, I'm not.
Apparently, he platonically saunas with a woman that he dated for 6 months,
And she's in a relationship,
but, like,
but
the
they're
sauna is
platonic.
at his house. She comes over to his house to sauna together.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. He's
Okay.
doing this weird thing also with the guys where he's like, yeah, it's pretty hot, but also being like, we're platonic friends. Okay,
Well,
Mike, which one is it?
this is the thing that's the off-putting about it. I believe that men and women can be friends. Even if they
Yeah.
dated, I believe that very strongly. However,
His
it kinda
implication
seems like a
here is I am sexually involved with a woman who's my friend.
or at minimum, it seems like a bit of a dominance play. Like, yeah, we're not even together anymore, but she'll come over to my place and get in the sauna with me. I'm just like, whatever Mike does, I'm reading it with no generosity at this point.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, no,
yeah.
frankly, there's no reason to. He also goes on like a really off-putting sidebar at one point about how he's like told everyone he's in love with Megan. She's like laughing and laughing. They're like bantering. And he's like, yeah, you and I are going to have the like hottest, sexiest, most nutritious, best fed kids ever.
Run away.
I'm sorry, do not refer to your future children as sexy and
Yeah.
hot. and nutritious. Like, what the fuck?
These kids are so nutritious.
Like,
Part of this complete
yeah,
breakfast.
it's really giving like Hansel and Gretel. Like,
I'm sorry. Once a man calls your future children hot and sexy,
you're done. Done.
you don't want to be looking back on that and being like, I should have listened to the signs. What were the signs? Oh, he said our kids were going to be sexy.
Sexiest.
The
Sexiest.
sexiest. No kids would be sexier. This was really alarming to me. Megan does seem a little put off when he starts describing their children as hot and sexy. But she plays it off in a sort of joking way. She's like, stop.
No, seriously, stop.
Stop calling her kids sexy.
So Megan finds herself torn between these two very different men. And after Jordan starts talking more openly about his number one in the lounge, he's like, you know, my number one, she's like debt free.
Yeah,
And she's
she'd
gonna
be the
this chick's
breadwinner.
gonna be the breadwinner. Like, okay, dude. Mike puts the pieces together and realizes that he is in a love triangle with Jordan.
Yeah, he's like, I only know one woman who is famously debt-free and rich, and that is Sparkle Megan. And during their next date, things really go up a notch between Jordan and Sparkle Megan. He's like, I didn't think I could date someone who called herself Sparkle Megan, but I love your personality. It is sparkling. We communicate so well. He's like, I just want to be able to like go out and have champagne with my wife and like laugh and have a great time and come home and fuck and never argue.
Never
I was like,
argue.
what?
You know those relationships where you never, ever argue?
Yeah, you know those relationships where you're co-parenting your child from a previous relationship and your life is just made up of going out and drinking champagne and laughing and fucking and never arguing? Okay.
Yeah, I'm concerned that he thinks that the only way to have a healthy relationship is to never argue.
Yeah.
Like, there can be a balance. You
It's
don't want to
certainly
be
not
always
healthy.
arguing.
Right. And he's like, I know men who've never complained about their wives. They never argue. And I'm like, well, maybe they just don't complain about it to you.
Right. Maybe they just recognize that some conflict is an inevitable part of the human condition, but they're not going around talking shit about their partner all the time.
Or maybe they never argue. Maybe they never argue. But that is a really difficult bar to hold a relationship to. It means that you can never really have conflict, or like you're building a life together. You might want different things. You might have different interests or uh, priorities. And if she ever differs with you, suddenly you're in an unhealthy relationship. That struck me as slightly unrealistic. And it sounds like he maybe was in a bad relationship with his son's mother, that they just weren't compatible.
Yeah, he's like, you know, my son's mom is a great mom, great person, but we just were fundamentally incompatible and we were arguing all the time. So yeah, I get why you wouldn't want that.
But like, sure, I too would love to be in a relationship where I just like drink champagne and laugh and have sex and never argue. But
I
like,
mean, that does, yeah, sounds
it's
nice.
just
It's not
I
life.
I could date everyone in the entire world and I would never find that relationship. Like most people, I think, are constitutionally incapable of being in a relationship and never arguing. Not saying no one, but it
Yeah.
seems really unlikely. And after this date, he tells the guys that he's love drunk, and Mike makes a triangle sign across the room to Patrick. He knows. Mike is burdened by the knowledge. And so he goes into his next day with Megan and immediately is like, I know too much and I need to know where you're at with me. And she's like, you're up there. And he's like, yeah, you have 2 guys left. And I know who the other one is.
Yeah, she's like, I feel like you're trouble. And he says, well, you're dating 2 guys who are trouble right now. And of course reveals he knows about Jordan.
But he
And
makes her tell him to prove she'll be honest.
yeah, he's like, are you going to be
I
honest
wanna
with me? I
I
already
want to
know.
see. I know.
Okay. Yeah, she is honest. She says it's Jordan because obviously he knows. And Megan also admits that Mike reminds her of her exes, and she's a bit concerned about that. She's like, I'm pretty certain we're each other's types outside of here. I've been trying to take that out of the equation. And so Mike softens a bit. He's like, Well, what if I was like your exes in as much as power couple and spark, but not like your exes in all the bad ways?
Yeah, what if I'm only the good parts of your exes, which I am. I'm only the good parts.
He's like, not saying I'm perfect, not saying I'm perfect, but what if I was bad in new and unexpected ways?
Right. He's like, we have similar backgrounds and ambitions. Like, we really could be this power couple. And I thought it was a pipe dream to be a power couple and also have a great relationship. But we also agree on the roles we'd assume in the household. And I didn't think I could find a woman who would do both.
So
Like, the
depressing.
subtext is so loud here. He's like, "Oh, I didn't think I could find a woman who would be a power couple with me, and were, in other words, successful in bringing a lot of money into the household, but also be
Doing
happy
all
to
the
pick
domestic labor.
doing all the domestic labor. She's so happy to pick up my dishes because I will wake with a start if something falls over downstairs, and that's me doing my part." And I never thought I would find a really successful rich woman who would agree to that split because it seems wildly unfair. But
Yeah, why would anyone want that? But you do.
but you do.
It's so cool. He also says he doesn't want to be here pouring his heart out and end up looking like an idiot. And Megan does not reassure him. She's like, I just need more time. And that is where we sort of end with them in this first 3 episodes.
Yeah. I do think Megan is just like she holds her cards close to the chest a little bit.
She
Like
does.
with Mike, she'll voice that he's like her exes, but aside from that, we don't really see her like articulate anything that is going to play into her decision making about it.
I mean, in a way, I think it's smart because we see that a lot of people can get themselves into trouble.
We're going to get to someone who
Yeah.
gets himself into trouble by talking too much real soon. Should we talk about Allie and Anton?
Yeah, I don't have that much to say about them. They're
Same.
sort of the closest we get to a golden couple,
We have
except
like
I
2
don't
golden couple
like them.
candidates. Yeah, we have 2 golden
Yes.
couple candidates that I'm not excited about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 2 golden couple candidates, not excited about either of the pairings. So this one is Allie. She is a nurse. She's 27. She feels like she has always had to coach her exes. She doesn't want to coach him anymore.
Yes. And she also thinks that she presents in like a harder, rougher way. And she's actually a soft, nurturing person underneath. I actually found her to be incredibly soft spoken and like almost hyper feminine. She doesn't seem hard or rough at all.
She's
And I
like
don't know if
saccharine.
was this her like really effectively breaking down her walls to be on the show, or do men say that about her because she has tattoos? She used to apparently be in like the military reserves. Like maybe there are certain external things that have made men say that about her, but like she really does not seem like she is putting up walls by being hard or rough in any respect. Like Anton
No.
will say something like, "Oh, I just like I like you, baby," and she'll be like, "Oh, I like that." Like could not
She's
be
constantly
more,
like,
could not be more feminine and soft. Anton is 29. He works in transportation and logistics. He's always gone by Tony, but his friends really encouraged him to use his real name to meet his future wife. It seems like he feels like people can't handle the name Anton because it's so like foreign, and so he
yeah,
goes by Tony.
Lord, Denver. Denver is
I know, it's like
so
really
white.
brutal. Like everyone is so traumatized by the expectation of adhering to like a very rigid,
bland
par-
white American identity.
right. He says he was raised on the border of Russia and Ukraine, and his uncle's side is in Ukraine, and so
Yeah.
the family is kind of like divided by the war.
So that sounds
Um,
really hard.
It sounds like he had a really hard like childhood upbringing, and like the state of the family now is really difficult. Um, they bond over both having gone by nicknames. Her name is also impossible for apparently Coloradans to grasp. Alini.
So she's Allie.
So she goes by Allie. She hated correcting people. It's literally phonetic. I'm like, I can't with this country. Alini and Anton are actually they're easier to pronounce than like Ashley.
Yeah.
Just phonetically. Like what is wrong with people?
People, this country is unwell in so many ways. Alini has Brazilian heritage. Obviously, Anton's family is Russian, and they realize they both speak 3 languages, which incredibly
Yeah,
impressive.
it seems like they both immigrated. Like,
Yes,
Patrick and Anna were both children of immigrants. Allie and Anton are both immigrants themselves, and they immigrated as children. They both learned English as kids. They both worked at McDonald's as their first jobs. Another one of those coincidences, like your grandfathers both being named William, where they're like, oh my God, we're meant to be. And it's like a lot of teenagers work at McDonald's. He tells her that he's been raised to be stoic because life is hard, but he doesn't complain. He just went out and built a business and bought himself a house. And he loves buying himself a house because he loves gender roles. He is the provider. He's very traditional in terms of how he treats women, and he wants to instill the same values in his kids.
just over here weeping. It's
I know,
fine.
weeping for our future. Allie loves this.
Again,
They
weeping.
They both want to have such a lovey-dovey traditional relationship that their kids are grossed out, but then one day want that relationship too. Also, the way that flowed together, I was like, I feel like the implication is that people who don't have traditional gender roles hate each other and
Well,
do
yeah,
not.
because you're probably like a frigid
Well,
bitch.
yeah, because if you were in a traditional relationship, you would have to just
You're,
nevertheless physically service your husband all the time.
I mean, Claire, you've
Greet
probably
him at the
spent
door
too
with a
much time in
smile.
your masculine.
I do spend so much time in my masculine. It's exhausting.
Just give me that soft life. Anton.
He starts calling her baby, and it gives her such a frisson. He's like, when I'm sad, I just want to tell the person I love the most. Does that make sense, baby? And she's like,
Oh,
yes. And I'm
him.
like, yes, it does. It's
Oh my God.
pretty standard thing from relationships. It makes
No,
complete sense.
him invoking baby so early gave me such an ick. I would like just for me, it's just a no. It's a no. It's an unearned
You're like
term of
Ace.
endearment. I hate it.
You're like the Ace. You're like, stop calling these women baby too early.
It
That's
just
not
creeped me
appropriate.
out. I was like, you don't even know her. She's not your
It felt
baby.
like it felt a little forced to me, to be honest, but
She's into
she
it. I mean,
loves
it
it.
works for them. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah, well, there's something about Anton that's like I just felt a discomfort with him. Like I couldn't like put my finger on anything other than like the gender role conversation in the pods that like put me off, but when he was on the screen I was just like, I don't know, I just feel like I don't vibe with this man. Like
Yeah, I
and
agree.
I can't break that down any further. He decides he needs more reassurance from Allie to propose, so he asks her how she feels about him. She's like, I love you with every cell of my body. And he says, I appreciate you sharing that with me. After I had already thrown the remote control at the TV, he added, I love you too. I
After
was like, you
this,
can't ask her how she feels, and then when she pours her heart out, be like, thank you. What a setup.
you know what? It works. He proposes. She says yes. And he says, thank you, baby.
Thank you, baby. She sobs and says, I'm not supposed to ugly cry. My mascara is not waterproof. This is a rookie mistake.
Yeah, you knew
You
you
shouldn't
were
even
going
be
on this show.
you shouldn't even be packing non-waterproof mascara to go on this show.
We do
There,
see their reveal, and
mm,
it goes really well because Allie's really hot.
yeah. She looks like AI. He's like, she's fucking stunning. It was shocking how good looking she was.
And he even tells her, like, you're better looking than I expected. I was worried. Jesus Christ.
Uh,
And then to reassure her, he's like, but I loved you so much that she could have come out of there twice the size.
Twice the
And he
size.
still would have loved her. Can you believe it?
What a hero.
What a hero. I was like, wow, thank you for
You,
that charming casual fat phobia. He's like, I'm such a good man. Like, she could have been double the size and I would still love her. Where's my gold star?
oh my God.
This really grossed me out.
I feel like, have we talked about this? We talked about this a lot off the mic, but I don't know if we've talked about it on the show. Maybe we have. Just that, like, Love is Blind is really a show for hot people who are sick of being picked for being hot by people who don't take the time to get to know their personalities. And, like, then they at the like, they meet and they're like, "And I'm hot. Isn't that amazing? Like, this is perfect. I know you like me for my personality, but now I get to be hot for
Yeah, but
you."
sometimes they're not hot enough.
Well,
So,
that's I would never wanna go on the show because I need people to know what I look like, because I don't want them to be like, "Oh, no, I'm
right.
not looking for that in my life." I would need to feel confident that the reaction would be sheer excitement, and I wasn't the hottest girl at my high school. So they both get very excited that when she takes his last name, they'll have the same initials because they have the same first initial, groundbreaking, 2 people whose names start with the letter A. We don't really get to know very much about this couple.
And I I'm just not into it. I like Allie generally, but
She seems sweet, but she also has, I think, a bit of the gender role soft life brain cooking happening.
oh yeah. Oh
It,
yeah, it's fucking everywhere.
yeah.
But I'm sorry. I hope she does not end up with this man. So, next love square, Brendan, Annie, Nick, and Kate. We don't see this one fully resolved in this first 3 episodes, but we are introduced to these people. At the center of it all is Nick, a luxury watch dealer who's 27, who quotes Johnny Bravo.
Hey there, pretty little mama. Are you an underinsured beachfront property? Because I'm a tidal wave of love. That's
That's
his
his
pickup
pickup
line.
line.
And then you hear the producer off camera asking, like, does that work? And he says, no, it never works.
But I
Stop.
always try.
Stop what you're doing and try something else. But he's like, at least then we're having a conversation. And
I'm
it's like,
like,
what if you started the
okay.
conversation with something that wasn't so off-putting? I bet you're
No, this
hit
is
rate would go
clearly
up.
his thing because then we see him in the pods with the women and he's like weeding out everyone who cannot handle his like deeply uncomfortable intros.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I always said I'm going to be my full weirdness on the first date because I don't want to have to slow drip that
Yeah. So
announcement.
that's sort of just what Nick is doing. We
Yeah.
also learned that he lives in Dillon, which is about 2 hours outside of Denver.
And Nick has like the blonde crew cut and scrubbed pink face and like slight awkwardness of a middle schooler. I think that using a Johnny Bravo pickup line kind of also gestures in that
He
direction.
reads so young and
He
maybe it's
reads
just
really
also
young.
cuz we are quite a bit older than him, but he like gives young.
Yeah, I think, but other people on the show are also younger than us.
And
Pretty much
don't
everyone
have
on the
this
show is
energy.
younger than us. Yeah, he just really like that scrubbed pink face and the crew cut and just like the awkwardness of him giving those pickup lines. I was like, this is reading very young.
Yep.
Kate is a registered dietitian. She is 31. She was in an 8-year relationship and was engaged to that ex. 3 months after her mom passed away, she found out that her fiance was cheating on her. And she
Awful.
feels like maybe their stellar physical connection made her miss some red flags. So here she is to dig a little deeper. Annie, Nick's other love interest, is a salon owner. She's 29. All I wrote down about her is Annie has a truly huge head of hair. There's so much of it. I must
Gorgeous.
have
That
missed the rest of
volume.
her character development. There is so much hair. Where does it come from? Where is it going?
The fourth person in this love
Enviable.
square is Brendan, a team manager. He is 30. And I don't even know that he got an intro packet. Like, there is nothing of note about him. I'm so sorry. He's just there in this love square.
Yeah, Brendan is like Blake to me in this way, where I'm like, I have nothing against him. I just like I have nothing.
Yeah. Brendan
Nothing
popped
for him.
even less for me than Blake did. He was a
I
full void to me.
There isn't much there, except that I think what ended up happening here is that I had a stronger positive feeling for Brendan because I didn't want Annie to pick Nick.
I do agree with that. I don't
And so
have
and there was no other option. So I was just like, pick Brendan.
He seems good
He seems
for reasons.
he seems like he has a better personality because Nick's is actively bad. Nick initially seems to give a lot of women the ick because he comes on kind of strong. He's like, "I live this fluid lifestyle because I deal luxury watches," which, by the way, I'm sorry, this sounds really scammy. Like, we have one guy whose profession is buying a real estate property every year, another one who just buys and sells watches, and he's 27. I'm like, "Are you on eBay all day? Like, what is this job?" I don't quite understand it. And he's like, "Yeah, I sell luxury goods. I wanna date a boss lady." Like, "You're shooting to the top of my list." Like, everything they say, he's like, "Wow, you just went right to the top of my list. Target? You like
Everyone's
Target?
his
You're at the
everyone's his
top."
number one. But
And we see some of the women being like, "This feels like an act. Like, I don't buy it." But Kate and Annie buy it. Kate and Nick connect really quickly. He comes on strong. He makes her feel very secure. And early on, he tells her that he feels deeply and strongly that she is the one he could be looking for. He has no reservations about her.
I mean,
And
this man just putting the cart before the horse.
she even feels like she thinks that she might be the toxic one for feeling like that's too perfect. And I'm like, no,
That's
you're
him.
right. Be careful when guys come on this strong early on. He tells her that what he cares about is the little things, like making martinis on the chairlift at the ski slope.
You
That's what I
know.
mean when I talk about the little things as well. It's having martinis when I'm skiing.
And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you'll just be sipping on a martini and see a child just absolutely eat it on the slopes. And isn't that so fun?
And then he nudges the girl next to him and says, "I'm better than him." And Kate laughs and is like, "So you're bullying kids to pick up girls?"
And Nick's like, yes,
He's
certainly.
like, "Little kids getting hurt is hilarious. They're so bouncy." And Kate agrees that kids won't get hurt because they're like styrofoam. I know this is like the whole basis for the show America's Funniest Home Videos, a show I could never watch because kids are people and I do not like to watch them getting hurt. Sue me. Call me a killjoy. This really bummed me out. Kids do get hurt.
They do. They are lower to the ground.
They are bouncier and lower to the ground than adults. It is
Yeah.
absolutely true. That being said, if a guy tried to hit on me by making fun of a 5-year-old who fell down, I would
Um,
simply never speak to
I
him
mean,
again.
Claire, I think so many things would have put you off about Nick before it even got to that point. It frankly wouldn't even be in the sample set
I think the worst thing of all would be, like, to know that this is a pickup line that he uses as a matter of
regularly.
practice.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Nick sees Annie as his wild card. It's not easy to see their lives fitting together. She lives in Denver. Don't they all live in Denver? But I guess she
Most of
has a
them
business
do.
there, so she's
Yeah.
not flexible. He's like, "But it's an intense flame." They're very similar. They're similar, but with different lives. They talk a little bit about their feelings about gender roles, and he tells Annie that he doesn't believe in traditional gender roles. I do have to hand it to Nick here.
I know. I was honestly shocked because there are some comments he makes later on that indicate some more regressive views. We'll get to that in the next recap.
He says he'll be her rock, but he needs a rock too. He can't be a strong man all the time with a face that looks like it's going to go take on the world with a sword and a shield to fight all the battles.
Fair. Fair.
That sounds like a lot. He wants to be with a partner who's an equal.
I
And
do genuinely love that, Nick.
and Annie is like mostly focused on how much she wants to be married. She's like, "Absolutely. I, for example, want to be married so much now." And she really wants her partner to also be very sure about getting married to her.
A lot of what they end up talking about, though, that we see is just like sexy
Sex. Yeah.
time. Nick's
They've
like,
slightly given her and Kate the like Madonna and whore edit a little bit, where we see so much of him talking about sex with Annie and with Kate talking more about feelings. And that can easily be achieved through the edit, but it is true that he and Annie do talk about sex a lot. She's like, "I have zero inhibitions." And he's like, "I have a sex drive that's ready to go anytime my partner wants." And she's like, "Well,
I'm like,
everything
oh
is
God,
sexy to
calm
me."
down.
They're almost like one-upping each other. She's like,
Yeah.
"Well, everything's sexy to me. If you get in the shower with me, that's sexy. If you touch me on the neck, that's sexy. If you help me close up my salon at the end of the day, you guessed it, that's sexy also."
I was like, you know what? I get it. Helping with labor.
Yeah, That's
That is
sexy.
sexy.
She spills water all over the carpet during this conversation and she starts mopping it up. But she's like, the conversation is making things even wetter. And then he makes a joke that goes, what gets wetter and drier at the same time? The carpet underneath Annie. I don't understand.
I,
Because she's cleaning up the water with a napkin?
yeah, I think he's like, the carpet is getting drier while your carpet is getting wetter.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
He then jokes that, they were given some questions, I think, to answer. And one of them was like, if you could wake up tomorrow with one more additional thing, what would it be? And he says that he wrote an extra inch. And then he assures her, don't worry, my dick is short, but it's wide. It's a chode.
I was like, wow. I never thought we'd reach the day where I heard chode uttered on Netflix, but it's happened. We're here.
I thought love was supposed to be blind, and now they're describing the dimensions of their genitalia. Like, what's happening?
Everything is hot for these two. Even Annie's name. Her name is hot.
Yeah.
And Nick is just a horn dog who loves role play. And in the pods, he's all pent up. He can't just Google titties.
Yeah, it's clear that he comes into the pod just like bursting with. I think this is one of the other things that makes him seem sort of like middle school boy coded.
Oh my God. He's like, yeah, I gotta Google titties.
I can't Google titties. So like, I hear the name Annie and I'm like, oh, I'm like, dude, calm down. Like,
also, you're in a hotel room at night. You can masturbate. Like,
well, that's
it's
too hard.
allowed.
You have to think of things to masturbate about.
It's too difficult.
Kids today, they don't know what
has...
it's like to have to imagine things to masturbate about. They've had such easy access to porn their whole lives. Some of us had to imagine things until we got access to the internet.
Oh, Lord. So unlike Annie's other connection, Brendan, Nick does not hold back with a verbal validation. He's just like always giving her validation, just like he's giving Kate. He's just out here giving validation.
Well, okay.
Does it mean anything?
They have this date that's like a night date where he's telling her about how her name is so hot and he's such a horn dog. He's all pent up and like he's going to fight for her. He's always going to fight for her to the end and show out for her. The same night, wearing the same outfit, he walks into his date with Kate and tells her that she's his baby, he loves calling her babe, and that he loves her and is so in love with her soul. He doesn't say that lightly. He's like, I'm throwing that out there. I just dropped the L-bomb, but I love you, Kate. Calm down. What are you doing? You just had like cyber sex with Annie and told her that you would fight for her to the end.
I truly can't.
The ability of some of these people to compartmentalize is like a little bit scary.
No, alarming. Very alarming.
She tells him that it's so romantic because she could tell he just couldn't resist saying that. And she feels like he's given her nothing to question. She's falling hard for him. And then he tells her almost verbatim what he told Annie, which is that he's going to fight for her until the end of this.
But then he calls her his girlfriend. Nick. Oh, Nick. This is so messy.
Does she even know that he has another connection? Because if I heard this stuff from a guy that I believed still had a connection, I would be like, then why are we ready to cut off our other connections then? Like, is that what you're telling me?
Clear. And it's unclear whether she even feels the need to like ask because he's so intense from basically jump with Kate.
Yeah. This is giving Clayton on The Bachelor. It's not just like, I do love you. It's like, I love you. I love you. Don't forget that I love you. I love you so much. And then going right off to the next date doing the same thing. Like, what are you doing? If I were Annie, I would think that you were saying that that you had locked in on me and you wanted to fight for me to the end. And then if I'm Kate, I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
This is unhinged. But Brendan is Annie's number one, so maybe that is helping her get through this. She's like, Brendan is my North Star. She's also his number one, and we barely see their relationship. He's like, I had a very happy childhood. I want to provide that for my kids one day. I'll coach any kinds of sports, even if it's a girl, like ballet.
Girls can't play team sports.
No,
everyone
I don't know
knows
any
that.
girls who play youth soccer. I appreciate his
I
enthusiasm for
do.
ballet. Annie tells Brendan that she can see herself with him, and she's reassured him more than anyone else. But she wants complete reassurance back, and he's not quite giving her as much as she wants.
He's just like not effusive, and Nick is effusive in a way that is like unsettling, but also makes people feel secure in the pods.
Yeah. And it seems like he very quickly narrowed the group down to two women who were into the heavy reassurance that he provided, and all the women who are a
Hmm.
little skeptical of it got turned off right away because he came on so strong in the first conversations.
Right.
So that's where we leave them for this batch of episodes, for this first 3 episodes. Should we talk about Madison and Joe? Oh my God, it just keeps going.
I
There's so
know
many
we
people.
should. So Madison and Joe, they are another couple that hones in on each other very quickly. Joe is a 27-year-old recruiter. He was in a 5-year relationship and he was previously engaged, presumably to that same ex-girlfriend. Madison is a UX UI designer, 26. The main thing we learn about her is that she has a degenerative eye condition that could potentially lead to her being fully blind. And also her go-to karaoke song is Fergalicious. She's fun.
Joe and Madison hit it off right away. We don't really see them talking much with other people. Oh my God, are they our third possible golden couple? I
Yeah, we have
guess.
3 and I think I just feel so not good about them that I'm like they're
I
out of
know.
contention.
I know. We see them planning like a fake date, like her dream date. She wants to do karaoke and then go to 7-Eleven. But this seems like actually an unbelievably frustrating conversation for Madison because Joe is so overwhelmed by the task of contributing to the date planning that when she's like, "What about you? Like, you go next. What should we do after 7-Eleven?" He keeps being like, "I can't. I don't know. I'll just start over. I pick you up at your house. I don't know. Like, where can we go after 7-Eleven? I don't know. Maybe we'll just go to a speakeasy." It's like, was that so hard? Like,
It's like this is imaginary, Joe. You
just
could say
pick a place you like
anything.
going. And Madison says the date will end with sexy snuggle time. Madison, please. I liked you. Let's not do this.
They agree that they want kids. Madison has always wanted 2 boys and a girl.
Good luck,
Um,
I guess.
yeah. She also has a cat, which Joe is skeptical about.
Mm. But he decides to tolerate it. He asks a lot of questions about whether the cat sleeps in the bed, whether she wakes up with hair in her mouth. He clearly doesn't like cats.
He's
She's like,
like, I,
"Would you do this if
okay.
it were a dog?" And he's like, "I would just be like, what a good boy." I'm like, okay, so you don't like her cat.
He's not a cat person.
Madison does eventually tell Joe about her condition. It's called retinitis pigmentosa. She is tells him that she's currently just fully functional, but she does have some difficulty with her peripheral vision, seeing in low light. You know, sometimes people try to like give her a high five or something and she just won't see it. And she tells him that it can lead to blindness, but she's met people who haven't gone blind until they were 90. And at that point, you're blind anyway. I don't think that's true. However, there is no cure for the condition, she tells him. And she says that because of this, she really wanted to go on the show and experience these emotions without seeing another person. And because that might kind of be in her future. And she is very aware of that. Joe seems very shocked. He says he's processing. He does say that it doesn't change the way that he feels about Madison, and that if he was married to someone, of course, he would help them through their medical needs.
So he ultimately decides to propose. He says he loves every aspect of her. She's bubbly. They have the same sense of humor. He wrote Madison Victoria Ferrucci, his last name, in his notebook. Everyone's not
These
even a
fucking
question. All
guys.
these women are taking the man's name. He asks her to marry him, and she says yes. And then we get the reveal.
This
Uh,
was one of the tougher reveals.
this was tough. This was tough to watch. Baseline, these are both very like normatively attractive people.
Yeah. She, she is like on the curvier side compared to a lot of other women in the cast or
Yeah.
on reality TV generally. But honestly, I did not um notice this. Like she's very like maybe mid-size. Like I didn't even notice this until the reveal was very awkward, to be honest. Like and then it was kind of. Joe sees her and says she's gorgeous. They kiss, but there is some awkwardness and it is on Joe's side. He keeps like telling her how surprised he is. He says he doesn't have a typical type and he is attracted to her, but like he is giving those vibes that we see sometimes when people aren't
Yeah.
sure if they like what they see. He is so flustered that he like initially forgets to propose with the ring and he eventually remembers it and they have to like return to the hallway so that he can kneel and give it to her. And then we get to his confessionals. And
Ugh.
he's like, wow, I was not expecting that. It seemed like I was kissing a stranger. It just didn't even look like the person I've been talking to in my mind. When I say Madison, that's now connected to that, to her, to her.
To that. Oh God, this
Like
made
the
me
thing that
like my
almost,
heart dropped.
yeah, that was tough. And it seems like the way that he caught it and corrected himself almost made it worse.
I
But
know.
like, no, it was bad either way.
I, and
Hey,
then
at least he noticed that it was bad.
yeah, and he's like trying to recover and you can tell
Yeah.
he's trying to be like, "No, she's pretty." Like he's like, "Yeah, I guess love is blind. That's somebody I never would have thought." And he sort of trails off and then says, "And honestly, it felt right. The attraction was there. It just took me a little bit."
Yeah, this was tough. I do feel like Joe wants wants to be attracted to her
Yeah.
and wants this to be flowing naturally. And also the way that he keeps using these sort of distancing terms like that is like a huge alarm bell to me. It is like a little bit dehumanizing and distancing, and I don't think that that is his intention, but it's
It
clearly something is
indicates
coming through.
something. Yeah.
And just we've talked about this before, whenever there is this awkwardness, discomfort, this big emphasis on like, oh, it's so hard to connect the voice in the pods with this person I'm seeing that isn't what I expected, that usually means I'm disappointed or
Yep.
like there's a disconnect that is going to end up becoming an issue. I hope not because Madison is so excited
I know. And I
and
I
happy.
really like Madison.
Yeah, she tells the camera, "Oh, my sweet Joe, he's such a nervous boy," which is fine, but he better figure that out. And she's very eager to bite his butt because she loves boy butts. She keeps making him show off his butt.
So should we move on to our final couple, our third couple in contention for the golden couple edit?
Yes.
I sort of think that that reveal knocks Joe and Madison out of contention for golden couple.
Yeah, this is not what you would expect from the golden couple reveal. Like it's like again, like he's really trying so hard, but like what's coming through is I'm
I'm
disappointed
disappointed.
and I'm trying to like talk myself into being happy about it. Edmond and Calabria are the final couple. Calabria is a travel social worker who is 27. She's an alpha woman and she's looking for a man who makes her feel safe. She's realized it doesn't have to be an alpha man. Edmond is a realtor. He's 29. He's over the apps and he's over asking friends for setups. He's ready to find a wife. And he starts being like, it's too shallow out there. It's too shallow. He loves fun patterned socks and rollerblading. Apparently, according to the first look, he likes eating his own boogers. He just puts things out there. There are
Yes,
some,
he's out there. He's
yeah,
quirky.
he's quirky. He's eccentric. There are some moments where this is like fun, chill, flirty. And then there's some moments where you're like, this seems like really out there. Like, at one point, we see him
Yeah.
in the men's quarters just laying stomach down on the floor and he's blowing raspberries on the floor and then he starts like kissing it. And the men are all like, what is going on there, buddy? And he's like, man, it feels good kissing something right now. And they're
Yeah,
like,
and you can tell that
okay.
everyone really likes him and thinks he's like
Yeah.
a really good, sweet guy. But there are just these moments of like social
Yeah.
unawareness.
Yeah, that's it. Doesn't feel like none of these moments are like mean-spirited
Alarming.
or
No.
yeah, in any way or malicious or like scary. It's just like, oh, that's really out of the norm. It's really quite out of the norm. Our other golden couple candidate, our final one, they bonded over the fact that they wanted a non-traditional marriage, and they're both collegiate athletes. He played football, she played basketball, and they talk about gender roles in a way that
I love it.
I really loved. She's like, it doesn't matter who does the childcare or who cooks or who's the breadwinner. We should both be able to do those things. That should be kind of fluid. Like, I'm a 50-50 kind of woman. I don't want to be a housewife. I have degrees and I'll be using them.
Yes, Calabria. Yes.
And Edmund has the same reaction. He's like, yes, I love it.
He's like, I
Great.
love it. I love it.
They also realize they have some synergy in their professions because he's a realtor. She wants to get into buying Section 8 homes and putting tenants in them. She mentions specifically a nonprofit group home, and that seems to be like related to her interest in social work. And Edmund opens up to her about how he had a pretty difficult childhood growing up in West Virginia, and he spent a lot of it in foster care.
Yeah, it sounds very rough. He was like in and out of a bunch of different foster homes, separated from his brothers often. And this was like punctuated with periods of a few months at a time where he would be back living with his parents and then would get removed from the home again. So he's been through a lot. It's
Yeah.
very clear. He says he now does actually have a pretty good relationship with his parents and that the two of them are actually doing the best that they ever have. And
Yeah.
his attitude towards this is like, well, this has shaped me into who I am now. He's like, I feel like I defied the odds. I have my master's degree. I want to get into teaching at some point because my 5th grade teacher saved my life. And he gets like very emotional talking about this. And I think that this like really draws Calabria to him. Like she feels very connected to him after this disclosure. And she loves that like he can be this like strong man and also be super vulnerable.
Yeah, that's actually a very touching scene. Maybe the high watermark of my investment in their relationship
Yes, I
when she
agree.
kind of talks him through this really emotional moment when he's kind of overcome and crying. And she tells him that it makes him stronger and more of a man to cry and be vulnerable. And like she's there for him. And I thought that was really
It was
a beautiful
beautiful.
moment of connection. But she also feels like they can have fun together and they can have serious talks. He makes her feel safe. They talk about their families, and she says her family would look at him as their son. They would embrace him. And he says his mom would give open arms to Calabria. And she asked him at this point how he went about forgiving his mom for what happened in his childhood. And he says that he could do it because he knows that she loves him and he doesn't want her to miss out on his life and her grandkids.
Mm.
And Calabria admits that this is hard for her because her father was absent. Like he just chose not to be around, and they aren't currently in touch at all because she questions whether he does love her. Like she doesn't have that certainty about how he feels. And so she feels like she's grieving a person who's still alive. And they feel like
They have this
very
like
close.
strong emotional bond
Yeah.
very quickly. They're both like clearly very deeply empathetic, sensitive people. And Edmund really reassures Calabria that she's allowed to be soft with him.
Yeah.
And I think that that ends up meaning a lot to her. And they were both like,
Yeah.
wow, this is like my best friend.
Yeah. And Calabria can't see this, but Edmund is really showing out style-wise during these
Oh my
conversations.
God, I
There's
love his button ups.
and his amazing button-ups and like color coordinated. There's a conversation when she tells Edmund that she is kind of done with other connections. She's like, I'm learning how to love you, but not who to love. And Edmund's on the other side of the lava wall wearing a baby pink monochromatic outfit from the shoes to the argyle socks to the pants to the shirt, which has cupids all over it and a pink hair pick. He is like love man for this conversation. I'm like, Calabria, if you only knew
Yeah,
how ready he was for
clearly
this.
Edmmond expresses himself through his fashion.
Through the art of fashion.
And it does make you wonder, like, what are the things that she's not picking up on, like pieces of his personality because she can't see him?
Right. Like there are things about his personality that are very strongly conveyed through. Like with a lot of people, you see a guy and it's like, yeah, you're wearing the same like plaid button down as every other guy. Edmund is signaling a lot about who he is through his attire and things like kissing the floor, you know? So there are things that, but there also are ways in which this is somewhat signaled. Like she talks about how he's always like yelling her name and like he'll go around like kind of hollering like
And she's into it.
you're cool, you're the best, and she's into it. It feels like this enthusiasm and warmth, but I don't know if she's understanding how that might translate into other settings, which will be interesting to because it does seem like that is not just like his enthusiasm for her specifically, but also just like it is his
His
personality.
affect in the world. So before he proposes, Calabria asks him what he'd do if she was chunky, 4'2", wore a size 11, which I was like, that doesn't exist in adult sizes.
Does she mean shoe? Like I don't understand.
Maybe, I don't know. And her head looked like a balloon. And Edmund's like, it doesn't matter. I'll still love you. I'll be holding those chunks. Our balloon-headed babies would just have great heads on their shoulders.
And he also assures her that when she needs to let her guard down, he'd be able to handle things. He just loves her. He loves her voice and her words. She reads him a long letter before the proposal. And afterwards, he's like, my underarms are getting sweaty. And he says, Calabria Zaire, would you pretty please marry me, please?
And she says yes. I was like, wow, what a contrast we're getting here. She is like 4 pages handwritten. And he's like,
pretty please
marry me.
And he starts jumping around yelling, let's go. And she's like, you're so different and I love it. She's so ready for this stage of her life to begin.
So the 3rd episode ends on their reveal. Katy Perry's Dark Horse is playing, again, that music budget, and Edmund is feeling stressed. He's like, I know I'm not the cutest, but I've got a good personality and I'm in shape. You honestly are very cute, Edmund. But he's ready. He's like, make sure a medic is near. And Calabria's like, let's do this shit. And just as the doors are about to open, cliffhanger.
And then it goes right into episode 4. But we are not getting into that until part 2.
So be sure to check out part 2 of our recap, which will cover episodes 4 through 6. And on that note, that is it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon and Emma Gray. This episode was edited by John Bahar. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like our show, remember to follow us, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and of course, spread the word to all of your friends about our show.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and on Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter Rich Text on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com. I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey, Eric Donnelly, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, and Hillary Shook.
We'll be back soon.